Got it. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Want to go to the very first slide, Sue?
Right here. Okay.
There you go. All right, let's start it all over again. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. Virtually, you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me and Sue and a whole bunch of other fantastic ladies on this somewhat of a cold Thursday, but it's Thursday, so that means the weekend is almost here and I'm excited for the weekend as always. So ladies and gentlemen, today, not gentlemen, ladies only. Today, we're going to talk about personal branding. And I'm going to share with you some tips, some strategies that I've learned throughout the years that I'm hoping will help you as well. And I love to hear from everyone. So please feel free if at any point in the presentation, you have a question that you would like to ask or you'd like me to clarify something, please do so. Feel free to interject or raise your hand and I will do my best to make sure I look at this virtual room to see who might have their hand up. Let's go on to the next slide. So ladies, here's what we're going to cover today. Really three primary topics that I want to talk about. And that is first and foremost, let's talk about how to create your unique brand and showcase your authentic and unapologetic self. Okay. How to feel comfortable in your own skin and to prevent imposter syndrome. I know some of us feel that way at times. So even I get that sometimes. How to dress for success. This is my favorite part of the presentation. And honestly, if you get me in a room and you want to talk about fashion or makeup, oh, I can go on and on and on. But we're going to share some tips about how to create a memorable presence when you walk into a room. And then I'm also going to share with you some of my favorite like fashion places that I go to. A lot of times people do tend to ask, well, where do you get your clothes from? What makeup brands you use? So I'm going to share with you some of my secrets, or really not so secrets. And but before we get into all that, let me share with you a little bit more about myself. Sue, if you can go on to the next slide, please. So ladies, to know me is to know that I am a Cambodian American. I was born in Cambodia, which is a Southeast Asian country. Southeast Asia comprises of Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand. I was born at the height of the Khmer Rouge War. It is a genocide that killed almost 2 million men, women, and children in Cambodia. And my family was extremely lucky to escape this war. And when I say family, that means my grandmother with her 3 children, my mother being the oldest, and my mom had myself and my brother. So both me and my brother were born during the war. My brother was born near the beginning of the war, and I was born at the height of it. And, you know, I always praise my mom and my family for what they had gone through, carrying 2 babies through a war, and then having to relocate, not to a new place, but an entirely new country with new cultures, new ways of living, and having to then develop work skills. My mom was a very privileged housewife in Cambodia, and now she was thrust into the US and had to learn new work skills to really provide for her family. And I always ask my mom this, how in the world did we end up in New England, one of the coldest parts of the country, right? Like, why didn't we go to Florida or California? Cambodia is a tropical country, right, ladies? I'm like, how does that happen? And fun fact, my mom said that the first time she saw snow, she thought she was going to die because she had never seen snow her entire life. Okay. And so I'm a refugee kid. I came here when I was about 2 years old to the US. And I'm also the first in my family to graduate from college and be in corporate America as well. In terms of my professional role, Susu explained to you a little bit of what I do. I am the executive director of IFO Ebaradores Merrimack Valley. We're an entrepreneurship organization that really helps entrepreneurs launch their business. And we do that through different programs and services. And as Susu mentioned, she's an alum of our program. We've been doing this for a while now, for over 10 years, and we have grown a lot. We've expanded. So you'll find now there's an e-file site in 8 different areas across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We also have an e-file site in Longmont, Colorado, Buffalo, New York, Northwest Arkansas, and now Rhode Island as well. And I am super honored that I get to serve the Merrimack Valley. We are actually the first regional site for the organization. And so my region now cover Lowell, Lawrence, and Havel. And fun fact, when EFL began, it was known as the Merrimack Valley Sandbox, and began right here in Lowell, Massachusetts, where I'm from. I consider myself a Lowellian. I was born in Cambodia, but raised entirely in the city of Lowell. So trust me, I'm a Lowellian. And to know me is to also know that I'm a super proud mom. I have 2 amazing children, as you can see in the picture. On one side is my daughter, that is Natia, but I tend to call her Sodia, which is her Cambodian nickname, and it means sunrise because she was born in the morning. And then there's my son, Kenneth James Sophan. His Cambodian name is Sophan. He's also known as KJ. He's 6 years old and is currently in 1st grade. So if you do the quick math, you're like, wait, 24/6, that's 18 years apart. I know, you're probably thinking like, wait, you were almost done. One was almost off the payroll and I started all over again. Well, and now I have another like 12, 13 years to go here, but that's okay. I love them both. Susu, let's go on to the next slide. So, ladies, I'm going to be asking some questions and I definitely want you to participate, which is very, very important to me. We are hearing a lot about this term personal branding. And when I think of personal branding, there's a couple of women that I think of when I think about branding, right? We all know who Oprah Winfrey is. She started off as a news anchor in the early 80s and then finally got her first TV show. And she was actually told that she would never make it as a TV show host, like a successful host, because she's Black, she's a woman, and because she was overweight. She wasn't made for the camera. Well, you've seen how Oprah has turned that around, right? Oprah herself is a brand itself. Her name alone, the O magazine. She named the studio, it's Harpo. That's her name backwards, okay? Angelina Jolie, a major, actress in Hollywood. Angelina Jolie was known as kind of like this bad girl in Hollywood. But think about how she's rebranded herself. And now she's known as a humanitarian with children from all over the world. And truth be told, if she wanted to adopt another grown Cambodian woman, I would be the first to raise my hand for her, okay? I would be the first. And then there's Jennifer Lopez, this amazing Latina from the Bronx, New York, who started off as a dancer and said, you know what, I'm way much more than just that. Went into acting, turned it around, said, I also do music. And think about her brand. When I think about her brand, I think about someone who is showing us as a woman, as a female, as a minority woman, a woman of color, that you can be fabulous at all ages. This woman is in her early 50s and still looks amazing. She is still entertaining and she is still out there creating movies and so forth. Martha Stewart. Who here does not know Martha Stewart? Anyone? How do you think Martha branded herself? Does anyone know the story of what she did way before she became this lifestyle influencer? Anyone? Now it's not the time to be shy, folks. Come on, share with me. Unmute yourself.
Was it for cooking?
She definitely has some great recipes. What else is Martha Stewart known for?
She went to jail.
There you go. Thank you. I was waiting for someone to say that. This woman went to jail.
Oops.
Right? She went to jail and she went quietly, went to jail, did her time, served her time, came out and picked up exactly where she left off and is now even more famous than before. And she rebranded herself. I remember watching a cooking show recently that she had done with Snoop Dogg. Does anyone know who Snoop Dogg is?
Yes.
Snoop Dogg, Sharon.
He's a rapper, one of the best rappers out there.
One of the best rappers. Snoop D-double-O-G, right? Snoop Dogg. Okay, she did a show with Snoop Dogg. Who would have thought that Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, this rapper from Compton, would make such a great TV couple? Right. So again, when I think of branding, I think of some people who are really strong influencers. And when you think of their name or you see their face, you automatically are connected to something. So before we get into, the definition here, let me ask everyone in this room, this virtual room, why is personal branding important now? Either type your thoughts in the chat box or
It's how
verbalize
people,
it. Don't be
it's
shy,
how
ladies.
people
Come on
remember
now.
you.
It's how people will remember you. Someone said visibility. What else?
Yeah.
Someone said, I have no
right
idea.
now. Let me
That's a
just
great
get
answer
out of
too.
here.
I love it.
Just
Okay.
filing my
Anyone
nails,
else?
and then I'll just look in the other room. It's not
Okay. Someone said to Guinea, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. If I'm mispronouncing your name, please correct me. I'm very big on making sure that I get people's names right. Differentiate yourself from the competition, reputation to be developed. Someone said, what was it? Messaging. Yep, messaging needs to stand out, leads to more authentic selves, focus and direction. Exactly. It is really all those things as to reason why it's so important. Okay, I got the pronunciation correct. Fantastic. I love that. Well, according to Wikipedia, personal branding is the conscious and intentional effort to create and influence public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry, elevating their credibility, and differentiating themselves from the competition to ultimately advance their career, widen their circle of influence, and have a large impact. Okay, it's all those different things. Okay, let's discuss this a little more though. All right. So the process of personal branding really involves, finding your uniqueness, building a reputation of things that you want to be known for, and then allowing yourself to be known for them. Right? Does that make sense so far? Building a reputation on things you want to be known for, and then allowing yourself to be known for them. Right? Now, so again, I asked, why do we care about personal branding? What's the goal behind it? Why are we doing this? Because it sounds like it's so much effort, right? Well, ultimately, the goal is to create something that conveys a message that could be perhaps monetized or to help elevate your career or business. Okay? Because people tend to think, oh, is it just for a personal reason? No. When it comes to your professional, your livelihood, personal brand can certainly elevate those areas. So where did this term come from? Well, it's interesting because, I've been hearing about personal branding for a long time, and I never thought about where does this term come from? So it's thought to have originated by an article that was written by Tom Peters in 1997. And Be Your Own Brand. It first published in 1999. And marketers David Nally and Carl Speak wrote that your brand is a perception or emotion maintained by somebody other than you that describes a total experience of having a relationship with you. Think about that for a second. So you mean to tell me a personal brand is not just what I put on paper, it's not what I put on my LinkedIn profile, it's to invoke emotion, it's what people think of or what they're feeling after they meet me. Whew, that is a lot of pressure, right? Goodness, think about it. Being a woman is already hard enough. Now I got to think about how I'm making people feel. Yeah, part of your personal brand. Absolutely. Let me ask you this. Have you met some folks where it was a very negative experience? Has anyone met someone where they had a very negative experience with that person, or they came off and gave you some negative vibes at all? Anything like that?
Yeah.
Oh, Now, think about this, let me ask you this. because of that negative experience, because of that emotion that they invoked in you, if they were to come back and try to sell you something, would you buy from them?
No.
Susu is saying no. Some others are saying no. So you probably would not. All right, then. You see, how you treat a person, how you make a person feel is absolutely part of your brand. Someone said you might be hesitant. Absolutely not. I will tell you, I might be absolutely hesitant as well. And so when this term was first published in 1997 to now, a lot of things have changed. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. A lot has changed. You see, 1997, I remember, we were, many people were still just learning how to do emails versus now, 24, almost 25, let's say 25 years later, we have these amazing things called mobile devices. We have Wi-Fi, we have internet, there's so much. And so we really have shifted in terms of how we see things, how we process things. So in an era where people's attention spans are getting shorter by the minute, the need to make an impression is more important than ever. And the best way to do that is by creating a solid and memorable brand identity. Okay, let's continue on in terms of why is this so important? Right? What are some reasons why this is something that you should consider? So for starters, it is to stand out in a very competitive job market. Okay, your personal brand essentially is your reputation, and it can really make or break your career. To stand out from the crowd, it's essential to have a strong personal brand as well. What makes you unique? By developing a brand, you're giving yourself also a competitive advantage as well. And people will remember you and your brand when they look for someone with your particular skills or expertise, okay? So I want you to think about that. Think about, let's say you're in a conversation with someone and you're saying to yourself, oh, Susu, I'm really, or not Susu, instead I might go to Laura. And I say, Laura, I'm looking to really develop a strong website for my company, and I just don't know who to turn to. And I don't know which company I should consider and so forth. There's so much at stake, and I really need a strong, like a website or just like this digital presence. And Laura may say, oh my gosh, then you should absolutely turn to Tomo 360. Right? Susu runs it, and she's been doing this for years and years and years. She knows her stuff. Her company is fantastic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Susu has developed a reputation, and she's shown it through her work that she is the go-to person when it comes to this space or this industry. And you want to do the same when it comes to your career or what you want to project, right? What are your talents? What are your expertise that you can share with others that you want to be known for? So prior to joining ePro at Batadoros, Merrimack Valley, my background was very different. It was in the private sector. And I worked really in different industries, from workforce development agencies to higher education, such as UMass Boston, Babson College, BU School of Medicine, to the private sector, recruiting for banks and doing talent acquisition for State Street Bank. So my hat that I wore was really employer relations. It was career consultation. It was marketing, right? And I was fortunate enough that I was able to transfer a lot of those skill sets, into this new job now. But I will say this, the majority of my jobs that I've had in the past, I never really seek them out or really applied. I was referred to them by someone else. So when I got recruited to State Street, for example, the vice president of the university relations team reached out to me and said, hey, I'm looking to actually fill this position. I need someone with a corporate background, but also knows recruiting and how to work with college students to get them to work at State Street for ABC jobs. And she said, I think you have those types of experiences. I like to see if you might be a good fit for our team. And so again, it's because years and years and years, I really honed in on that area, right? In terms of like how to be a strong recruiter, how to work with college students. And luckily, because I've developed a network, that got around back to this person and she recruited me for the job. So it can really make you stand out amongst your competition, right? And then if you have a business, personal branding is so important for you to build trust. We are seeing more and more nowadays that consumers want to purchase or support companies and brands that they can trust, that they can also resonate with, right? So personal branding is the process of, again, of creating identity for yourself as an individual or business. And this really involves like developing a very well-defined and consistent look, message, and presence online and offline. I want you to remember that. It's not just what you put on your Facebook, your Instagram, your TikTok, your LinkedIn, but do you match up also in person? When it came to, for the career part, I used to tell my students, do you match up all three forms of yourself when you're looking for a job? What you put in your resume, your digital footprint, such as your LinkedIn profile, and then when you meet the employees in person for an interview, do you match up? As a former recruiter, I look at all those different things because if you're selling me this fantastic resume with all these skill sets and everything else, and I see online that you possess the same, but then when you come in, you're unable to really identify or explain your areas of expertise, I would say, something doesn't add up. It doesn't match. Okay, so I want you to really think about that. And also, when people feel like they know who you are and what you stand for, especially as a business, they're more likely to trust you, right? And that's because they feel like they have a relationship with you and they know what to expect from you. That's the biggest thing. They know what to expect from you. That's super important. So digital footprint, I touched up on that. With social media and Google, it is so easy for anyone to find out information about you with just a few clicks. As a result, it's really essential to be aware of how you are presented online. So, ladies, let me ask you this. Have you Googled yourself? Someone's giggling. All right, Susu, I see your head nodding. Okay. Samara said yes. When was the last time you Googled yourself, Samara? Ooh, Serene's iPhone said never thought. Okay. Right now, open up your browser and type in your full name and let's see what pops up. I want you to do both. I want you to go look at like everything like in terms of news and then image. Gotta do both. Don't just look at to see what links might pop up. But what's the image? Okay. So someone said they haven't in a long time, maybe a couple of years ago. All right. So it's been a while. So go ahead, Google yourself and let's see if anything surprises you when you put your name in there. So you're smiling. Would you care to share what you just found about yourself?
Uh, well, all kinds of pictures, a video of me doing some webinar, and several different kinds of pictures. Some of them are not as good.
Someone got the bad angle. I hate when that happens. All right, someone else share what they found about themselves. Make me pick on folks, because trust me, I will do it. Anything interesting? Someone, Amber said Women Accelerators work shows up immediately. Okay, if it's only work related, that's a good thing. So part of the reason why I say, Google yourself is to be aware of what's out there. Okay, and we'll talk about why that is so important. So again, personal branding is the thing. It can help you control the narrative about yourself and how to introduce yourself in the best light possible. So if you Google yourself and something's came up, you're like, oh, I really don't like that. There's time to clean up that digital footprint in terms of whether there's certain things you need to have removed and so forth. So take a look at that. Again, but personal branding is about how are you going to control the narrative about yourself? Don't let someone else tell your story to others. You are more so in full control of that. So the primary takeaway is this. when it comes to especially for career advancement. When employees or clients, see that you have a strong personal brand, they're more likely to consider you for that next project or job opening. All right. So, because again, nowadays, most folks, when they are looking to hire someone for a job or a project or consider someone for anything, I'm pretty sure they're going to put that name into the search bar. So think about what your narrative says and how you control that. All right, let's move on to the next slide. So now let's talk a little bit about creating the brand. So building a personal brand can seem super overwhelming at first, especially if you're starting from scratch, but it doesn't have to feel that way. You break the process down into smaller, more manageable steps. You can start to see your brand grow and take shape over time. Okay, so there are some ingredients that I feel is super important when creating a personal brand. AEP. Having authenticity, being an expert in a field or a subject matter, and then your presence. So let me ask you this. When you go to events or meetings, do you show up as yourself? What do you think I mean by that? Not all at once, ladies. What do you think I mean? Do you show up all at once?
It's Joyce. I think you mean a lot of times we try to fit into the dominant group, and do we do that, or are we vulnerable enough to just be who we are and let the chips fall?
There you go. Exactly that. So recently, I was extremely honored by Eastern Bank. They had given me their Community Advocacy Award. I thought this event was to recognize different leaders in the community. And I'm asking them about the logistics for the evening as we got closer to the date. And I said, who else will be there at this event? Who else will be speaking? And Eastern said, no, it's just you. And I said, what do you mean it's just me speaking? They're like, no, this event is to honor you and your work at EFRO. I got a photo. So I'm like, oh, it's just me. I said, okay. I said, who's going to come to this event? Right. But luckily, 300 people RSVP. The day before the event, I was thinking about, oh my gosh, what do I wear? How do I show up? Right? What do I want the message to be that evening? Who do I want to be? And a friend of mine who also went through this fellowship program with me called Leads wrote me a message the day of and apologized that she couldn't make it because she had an event that she could not get out of that evening. And she said, show up as yourself. Whoever that is that you think needs to be presented that evening, show up as yourself and don't apologize for anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, thank you for giving me that, like a little boost of confidence, because a part of me, sometimes I struggle with, oh, do I show up as super professional Sophan, or do I just show up as regular Sophan, right? And even when it came down to what to wear that evening, I had bought one. It was a dress. And it was a wine colored dress, a long sleeve, a little off the shoulder, very demure, a little more on the elegant side. As we got closer to the date, I'm online and I saw this other dress. I'm like, oh, this dress is fabulous. It was a black damask dress and it was covered in sequins, but in a very subtle way. And of course, it's a little shinier in terms of material because it's sequins, right? But black sequins. And I want you to think like disco ball. And I'm like, that one's more me. Right. But I'm like, so which dress do I go with? I ended up going with the black sequins dress because I'm like, you know what? If they're going to honor me and all eyes are going to be on me and I'm going to represent Asian American women, Cambodian American women, Khmer women, if I'm going to represent this entrepreneurship organization, if I'm going to represent Flow, then they need to understand that this is who I am. I am a professional who loves what she does for the community, who loves her work, who loves the impact that EFRO contributes to the community. But I also love to be fun when it comes to fashion. I also don't need to be taken seriously all the time. And so if I'm going to show up, I'm going to show out. And that's what I did. Right? I needed to be me so that I didn't feel like I was wearing a mask. And so people need to see that.
And
So
you look amazing that night.
thank you, Susu. I appreciate that so much. You're always so generous with your compliments.
That was
So
true.
show up as yourself. And you know what's interesting, Susu? I remember you and I, we were at another event together, and Susu said, "Oh my gosh, you're so dressed up, and here I am just in this suit and so forth." But immediately, you know what I thought to myself? I said, "But that's who you are, though. That's your look. That's what you're comfortable with. Stay that way. You don't have to wear a ball gown like me." Right?
I
Because,
don't have a gown.
oh, but if you do, what if you're not comfortable? Then you're not being yourself. Show up as yourself. Okay. Now, here's the other thing I want you to ask yourself. Are you selling when you're at these events, or do you relate to others? Okay. Are you selling, or are you relating to others? I have met people where they think as soon as they meet me, they need to come right off the bat and just start selling me their product, their service, and so forth. It's like, whoa, I don't know you. I don't know you yet, right? How can I do business with you if I'm not even sure whether or not we're kind of compatible, if it makes sense for us to do business? So are you selling, or are you relating to others? And then how does your brand meet specific needs? So know your audience. So understand, right, who you're talking to in your audience. So as a representative of E4All, knowing that I tend to be the face of E4All as a leader, I always think about my messaging of E4All depending on who I talk to. So for example, if I'm talking to a budding entrepreneur, I'm going to relate to them as to why E4All's Business Accelerator can really help impact their business, because we offer our programs and services at no cost to them. If I'm talking to a private company, I'm thinking about, okay, E4All could be really a great place for them to support if our mission aligns. So I change it up because I know who my audience is, right? So you always have to think about, who are you talking to? Does it make sense for me to take this angle with that person? Your expertise. We're all, I'm sure, subject matter experts in some things, right? Something or some things. So type in the chat box what you think your area of expertise is, whether it's work or something that's fun, okay? That's related to fun stuff. So for example, there's my professional expertise I can talk about, which is, I can talk about recruiting. I can talk about talent management. I can talk about, entrepreneurship. But then another area of expertise would be makeup. I do freelance makeup. I don't do as much now, but I used to do a lot of bridal work. And I can give a TED talk in 20 minutes without stopping, all about makeup. All right, so I'm seeing in the chat box. Let's see, what do we got here? Ooh, someone said skiing. Samira, fun fact, I've never, ever skied in my life. Amber said communication. Okay. Joy said tropical fish cooking and scuba diving. I've done scuba diving. No, it was snorkeling. Let me not pretend like I know what scuba diving is because I'm a little scared. Someone said cooking. Laura, let me know what types of things you'd like to cook. Giddy said professional expertise. Museums. Oh, I like to learn a little more about that. Let's see. Angel said professional nonprofit management and fundraising. Oh, you and I will definitely have to talk about that more. All right. Let's see. Susu said cooking and exercising. Okay, we know that Susu, you do yoga. I'm gonna have to get some tips from you. Sometimes I feel like yoga is a little too slow for me. I'm like, oh, I need something faster. Someone else said professional, organizational, behavioral psych. Sharon said empowering burned out and stressed women. Ooh, I would like to hear that, especially during the pandemic, right? We were all burnt out and stressed out during the pandemic. Let's see, personally listening, getting people to talk about themselves. All right. Educatrix Advanced. Tell me, what's one way that you can get people to talk about themselves? Give me one reason how you can do that. Erica said D&I, bread making, needle felting. My goodness. Serene said brand management, photography and communications, advising. All right. Someone else said event organizing, speakers management, fashion marketing. Ooh. Men said biotech industry, spiritual growth. Oh, I love that one. And Danielle Camp said to serve as a champion for others. I love that. So clearly, everyone in this room already has a personal brand because you just listed out some of your expertise in the chat box. Okay. So how do you turn that and become a source of relevant information? Right. That's part of being an expertise, is providing relevant information.
Mhm.
But one thing I will tell you that I don't do is, like, if I'm not well versed in that area, I certainly do not pretend to be. I will say, you know what? I don't know the answer to that question, but I can find out someone who may know
Right.
more that about that than me. Right. And then how do you give back to your profession and your community? Think about that. That's a way to brand yourself. How do you give back? So one of the things that I'm looking to do is actually to work with high school students and to create like a mini accelerator. That's my way of giving back. It's not a part of what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's something I should do because I want to be able to expose young people, high school students, junior seniors to the world of entrepreneurship as an alternative to just thinking about post-secondary options as attending universities only, because that tends is what I thought when I was in high school, that after high school, the only option is just to go to college. So I want to be able to open up their minds and think about other things. All right. So I did ask about, how do you get people to talk about themselves? They said, make them comfortable, body language, so forth. Ask questions, empathize. Awesome. Okay. Ooh, Vicky said her area of expertise is blogging and online boutique. That's good to know because you know what? I have entrepreneurs that are in that space. Tamar, definitely let me know. We can definitely connect. I want to definitely talk to more students about entrepreneurship. The first time I heard that word was
Me
my
too.
senior
Can I
year
help
when
you?
I was in DECA. You remember DECA, the Business Student Club? Yeah.
I'm doing great, Ashley. Good to hear from you.
Oh, someone's multitasking. That's okay. All right. The last part of creating your personal brand, besides being authentic, being a subject matter expert, is your presence. Okay. What do you want your image to be? I want you to think about that. Every time you go out, take a look at yourself. What kind of image do you want to project? And we'll get into this a little more. Are you showing up as your best self? Meaning, are you showing up? Are you positive? Are you happy? Because listen, life is hard. The pandemic was hard. We go through things on a daily basis as human beings. And I hate to be biased, but I think as a woman, as a mom, as a professional, as a sister, as a girlfriend, as a leader, as a community advocate, we have even more that we have to deal with, right? And so sometimes our mind and our heart can be just really all over the place because we're dealing with so much. We're thinking about so many things. You're like, oh my God, I have this work event tomorrow, but my son is sick right now. What do I do? There's just always so much. And even though it's hard, I myself, one of my things is that I always promise myself that if I'm going to commit to going to anywhere, I show up as my best self. So whatever I'm dealing with, I will put that to the side and say, okay, right now, this is not a priority yet. This matter can be dealt with later. Right now, I have this event or this program to run, and I'm going to show up as my best self because this person deserves it. My team members deserve it, or the women accelerators deserve it, right? So I make a promise to myself. I love that. Okay, keep it going in the chat. I love that. Okay. And then show up consistently. Part of your brand is to be consistent. Again, not with just your offline, what you show online, but also in person. Are you consistent? Do you only go to one event per year and think that's going to help your brand? Right? It does require a little more than that. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. All right. So here, let's see. So let's talk a little bit about strategies. Okay, so think about this. I want you to really, first and foremost, define your personal brand. Envision what that looks like. This is the very first thing you want to do, just do the brainstorm, the different aspects of your brand, including what you want to be known for and how you want to make a difference in your niche or in industry. So for myself, one of the things that I always want to make sure that I'm known for is that I am a consummate professional and that I am the face of eFraud. And part of my job is to always advocate for small businesses, right? Clarity is so important. So don't leave people guessing about what you do or who you are. So when people ask me, what do you do, Sophan? I don't say, oh, eFraud is a nonprofit 501c3. No. It's like, what was that? I run an entrepreneurship organization. We help entrepreneurs launch their businesses in a year to a year and a half. Clear and direct. So be very clear with your message. If you run a business, make sure people who search you understand what that business is and what it provides. At eFraud, we have everyone do their business pitch all the time. If you're not used to pitching your business, practice it every single day with friends, family, and so forth till you have it down packed. Think about how you like to introduce yourself. Let's see. Someone here, tell me anyone here who has maybe like some challenge in introducing themselves and why. Put a little bit of like what you do and let's see if we can spin it. What can we do to show up as our best selves? Again, it's you have to learn how to compartmentalize things and put that to the side. And honestly, it's getting your mind right to say, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to smile. I'm going to connect. I'm going to be present and in the moment. Okay. That's how you can show up as your best self. Thank you for that question. So social media, I'm going to run through some things. I realized, 12:47. Social media. So again, if you're going to establish your presence online, make sure your social media platforms are consistent, including your website. While it's not necessary that you have to be active in every single social media platform, I'm not on TikTok. Okay, that is not in my range. It is not my expertise. I do Facebook and Instagram, and that's where I will live at. I have LinkedIn, whether you're on LinkedIn, Pinterest, and so forth, right? So just remember that your profile should be consistent. If you go through a job change, if you update your business, make sure all those different platforms are updated as well, including your written bios. And then always be positive. People don't want to hear about negative things. I might be having a bad day, but when I go to that event and someone says, hey, Sophan, how are you? I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, my morning was horrible, right? I'd rather be on the positive side of things because I want people to feel comfortable and safe around me and also happy as well. And staying on the positive side is really important when you are thinking about employment or your business product. Okay. Everyone likes to hear success stories, especially potential employers and clients. So really think about that. Let's move on to the next slide. So the imposter syndrome, I'm sure we all have heard about this. When you really think about the imposter syndrome, it's how you feel about yourself, right? It's a sense of self-doubt that's related to like work accomplishments. You might have feelings as if like, you're not the right fit or you're phony and so forth, because you're thinking like, you don't deserve this job, right? And oftentimes imposter syndrome makes you feel like you're tricking your coworkers into thinking you're good at your job. You might say to yourself, I don't deserve to be here. Let's change that mindset around, all right? Trust the judgment of those that invited you to that space. Susu invited me here to talk about this, and that's because she trusts me, okay? And then also think about, you've earned this. Think about the education you put yourself through, the experiences, trainings, professional developments. So, but all types of people experience imposter syndrome, and it's not just new hires either. Team members, especially team members in more senior positions, are actually more likely, to feel this way. Leaders, they feel that way at times as well. Let's move on to the next slide, Susu. And so here I just want to show the types, the typical 5 types of imposter syndrome, the characteristic. And I found this through Asana, and I can definitely relate to some of this, right? Put in the chat box which one you think you probably fall into. For me, I will tell you that I definitely am the perfectionist. So I am someone who, as a perfectionist, I am always very worried about like how something is done instead of the overall outcome. And I've had to learn how to let go and trust that others will be able to get the same result that I'm thinking of as well. And then let me see the superhuman. You know, that is someone who really measures their success about how many roles they can juggle, they can master. You hear about that. Oh, she's such a superwoman. She does this, she does this, she does this, right? So those are some of the different 5 characteristics. And for me, what I have found is that if you actually learn to recognize that you're starting to fall trap into this, talk yourself out of it. A lot of people say perfectionist. I hear you on this one. Got to learn how to let go. It's hard. It's so hard, but learn to let go and trust others and doing it for you. Okay. Natural genius is someone's downfall. That's what Erica said. Okay. And Min said she can relate to all 5 types. Oh, there are days where I can relate to all 5 types as well. So I think what's important again is to recognize that these are the 5 types, and it's really how you think about yourself and think about the facts more so. Take your emotions out of it and now present your on facts. The fact is you went to school for this subject area. The fact is you have 10, 12, 20, 30 years of experience, right? Those are the facts. That's how you can remove yourself from that imposter syndrome. Danielle, I hear you. Sometimes it does take a while to draft an email. What I do is actually I will create templates based on many things I typically will discuss. I have templates that I can then really tailor it to that person. So that takes out a little bit of I keep writing it over and over and over. So I create templates, outreach templates, communication templates all the time. I love having templates. All right, let's move on to the next slide. Let's talk about some fun stuff. Are we ready? Are we ready, ladies? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, well, before we do that, I want you to have to consider a couple more things about how to remove imposter syndrome. First, be your own confidence booster. Think about your accomplishments, where you've made a difference, how you contribute to something meaningful, right? Find your village. This is so important. Surround yourself with a village that can offer you strategic insight, support, encouragement, and constructive criticism as well from their own experience and them as a sounding board. Trust me, I have a group of friends where if I'm like, not so sure of, I will go to them and say, what do you think of this? Am I crazy for doing this? Right? If you don't have that village, find a mentor. Mentors are phenomenal. Okay. And then the other thing is this reasonable expectations. Okay. Imposter syndrome. Sometimes I think we set such far reaching goals that when we don't hit those goals, we feel like we fail. So stop setting unattainable standards and stop blaming, your own limitations for mistakes or failures, right? Failing is a part of life. We all make them and we can all learn from it. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, here comes the fun stuff. Are we ready, ladies? Dress for success. Who loves to dress up? Raise your hand if you love to. Okay, Serene said yes. She smiled. She's like, You see this shoulder pad right here? Absolutely. I come with authority. Yes, Miss Serene Taylor, I see you, my friend. All right. So according to Forbes, a recent study shows that people who dress better have more confidence, feel more powerful, and are more focused on details. All right. More importantly, people perceive well-dressed people as leaders and go to them for support at a faster rate than those not as well-dressed. Isn't that interesting? How a person with a little bit of shoulder pad can command more respect? Well, think about it. When our leader of the country, POTUS, whenever they're on TV, do you see our president ever just in slacks or a t-shirt? Absolutely not. They're always in dark suits, right? They're there to command attention. Let's move on to the next slide. Daniel says she always wears something purple. I love it. I love purple too. We know a little bit about what it means to wear professional attire right here. right here, right? This would be your typical professional attire. But it's 2022. We're in a virtual world. Let's go on to the next slide. Really, this is what it looks like right here. Am I right? Anyone here wearing lounge pants? I dare you to stand up if you're wearing lounge pants. I dare you. I made sure to be in a full dress for you ladies. Okay, I made sure. I think I am not going to half it today. I'm wearing a full-on outfit for you ladies, including accessories. But this is what it looks like nowadays. So, because Zoom world, why be fully clothed when people only seeing really neck up? So now here's the interesting thing about like dressing up is that really, again, why do we need to dress up when the office is online? If we have to attend so many Zoom meetings in a day. And so people who work online sometimes will only wear corporate in the upper parts that may be visible, and the rest is usually left for freestyle. Let's move on to the next slide. I want to show you this picture. This is a picture of some managers who went to work and decided to show people like what they dress or what they look like when they're online meetings and Zoom and so forth. I thought it was just absolutely hilarious. And I think if anyone at the workplace, a good Halloween idea, this might be one for your office right here. Someone said wearing fuzzy socks and slippers. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for the fuzzy slippers. I have them every day. Let's move on to the next slide. So some of this is very 101, okay, right here. We typically know what is a business professional versus business casual versus smart casual. I always say, really think about your judgment and where you're going. At the end of the day, what is considered dress for success is to ensure that clothing is clean, it's pressed, it's well fitted. We, when we think of professional dress, we tend to be more on the conservative side with dark shoes that are clean and polished and choosing accessories that complement your clothing rather than to distract from it. Okay. And so, again, the important thing I think is to, again, think about where you're going to be, the image that you want to convey, and what does that say about you? So for me, my personal style, really, I like to say I like to err more on the classic sophisticated style, Monday through Fridays. On the weekend, I amp it up and I tap more into my Beyonce and J-Lo egos, right, for the weekends. That's the weekend. And so, but I like to stay on the sophisticated side of things. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, before I discovered my style, ladies, listen, it took a while. So finding your fashion can take a while. So as you can see, right, this younger me, that's when I was about, I think, three and a half in the very first picture, to third grade, to then junior high, high school, and nearing the end of high school years. So when I was a child, I definitely went through what they call the ugly duckling phase. And I was told that I was not a very attractive child. And I was also told that I was too big. So you see that last picture? I was probably a size 6, 7 holding that little umbrella. And I was still too big. And I would probably not even find a husband. This really damaged my self-esteem. I did not have any confidence. And it really made me just feel very, very insecure because I allowed others to penetrate my thoughts and my feelings of the perception of myself. So it took me a long time to get to the point to discover that 1, I'm fabulous as is. 2, what works with my body. And 3, what image I want to present. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. So just a couple of things to consider, right, when dressing for success. Clothes really do reveal self-esteem. When you wear clothes that are not fitted well or they're messy looking, it really kind of shows to others that there's some sort of a deprived sense of self-worth. And sometimes also it can show a lack of self-respect when you wear clothes that just don't suit them as well. But you have to also understand and accept your body shapes, and we'll talk about that. Clothing can really help demonstrate confidence. So it's really about how you carry yourself, right? It really talks or speaks the confidence you hold to the people. And what you wear also shows equally the confidence in you. And then accuracy of judgment. Again, this can be a little tricky. You have to know what to wear at what particular occasion. The knowledge and judgment of what clothes to go well for a specific occasion really talks about or shows your judgment for it. And so let's move on to the next slide, Susu. We only have a couple more slides left, so if you can stay a little bit, that would be great, ladies. So a couple of things I want to talk about here. Some general rules when it comes to dressing for success. Color, style, and the fit are the key factors for a very complete appearance. You don't have to wear heels. You don't have to be, dressed up in labels in order to look fantastic. First, define your style. Fashion is your personal expression. We already said earlier that Susu, she prefers, her pants, her blazer, her button down, her collar shirts. That is her style. That's her look. That's great. Embrace your body. We all have different body shapes, sizes, and so forth. Embrace it. You don't have to look like runway models to be beautiful. I mean, if anything, Lizzo has showed us that. And by the way, fun fact, runway models, that's called genetics. I did a paper on this back in college. Most of them are born with those genetics. You can't diet yourself to look like some of these supermodels. But embrace your body and know what works with your body, types of fabric, colors, and so forth. Color says a lot about a statement. And then lastly, kiss yourself in the mirror. Listen, ladies, we have to learn how to love ourselves. When you learn how to love yourself, you're going to change how you see yourself. You have to stop with the negativity. Oh, wish I was 10 pounds slimmer. Oh, I hate these rolls right here. Okay. So think about that. How you see yourself is so important. Embrace it. None of us are perfect. We don't need to be perfect. That's what makes you unique as part of your brand. Let's move on to the next slide. Here, I just want to show you a little bit of some of my favorite, kind of like my secrets almost, right? So for retail, a lot of people tend to ask me, where do I shop at? I shop everywhere. So my favorite brands are Eli Tahari, which is actually an Israeli designer, and Taylor, New York and Company. I started liking New York and Company. Why? Because they brought on Gabrielle Union as one of the design inspiration. Calvin Klein makes some great women's suits. You can find them at the Macy's department. Venus Fashion online, I tend to find a lot of dresses from them. And footwear, I tend to lean more towards a little fashion, but more so comfort. I am a heels person. So some of these brands, especially Inc., fantastic one. Thank you, Amber. And then here's some staples, right, that I think a lot of women should probably have in their closet. First thing, classic outerwear. As we head into the colder months, a fantastic outerwear coat says such a statement. Tailored two-piece suits, whether it's a pantsuit or a skirt suit. That versatile black dress. I have a couple of them that I know if I cannot find anything to wear, I will put on that black suit, a statement piece necklace or a blazer, and I'm good to go. And then if I'm going to a personal event after, I can take off that blazer and put on some heels and accessorize a little more, and I'm ready to go. Okay. Now, makeup. I tend to get asked about that a lot. So people tend to ask me, how do you make sure that your makeup stays put? The secret, ladies, if you don't know, like Danielle said, yes, Danielle used the MAC Prep and Prime before applying lipstick for sure. Setting spray, one of my favorite things, but here's how I use my setting spray, right? I spray this on before I do my makeup. Moisturize first, extremely important. I spray this on, right, just a little bit. You apply your makeup. Make sure when you spray, the one thing you want to do is give it time to dry a little bit, right? Okay. You don't have a fan? Grab one. It's very helpful. And then the trick is this. After you put in the makeup, spray it one more time, and then you put your setting powder. Okay. So these are just a couple of brands that I tend to use. And then skincare, so important. I use a skincare set. Okay. Very, very important. I use a whole line. For moisturizers, the serums, and so forth. That's what keeps your skin looking fantastic. And then one of the things that helps me with my fashion, you go on to the next slide, Susu. I like to keep things organized. So this is a part of my glam room, at least that's what I call it. I have a room that I dedicate just for my shoes, my accessories. It has my vanity table with my makeup. I have an area that displays all of my my like accessories, my jewelry, and so forth. I have a flower wall that I can take pictures at, and so forth. So I color and coordinate everything. My closet the same way. Everything's coordinated by colors, like that rainbow style. So as you can see with my shoes, I told you I'm a heels girl. And so it helps that I have things organized. So when I go into my closet and I say, you know what, I'm feeling in the mood to wear red today, I go into my reds and pink section. And when I need shoes, it's coordinated by colors. Okay. So in closing, Susu, if you go to the next slide, personal brand is who you are and how you want others to perceive you. Show up as yourself, as your authentic self. The people who will care about you will love it that you're being true. Fashion is your expression. Do not feel like you have to fit in with every single person or trend out there. I say stick to the classics, and then you could be fun by adding some trendy pieces to it. I have cardigans from when I was 25 years old. That's a 20-year-old cardigan that I can still rock to this day. And then confidence. At the end of the day, confidence comes from knowing who you are, and more importantly, that you're enough. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Everyone's quiet.
I had a question. This is Serene Taylor. So I put this in the chat where when someone, well, I guess I have two questions. The first one is, so when someone is to ask me, hey, what is it that you do for work, right? I work in marketing and communications, and so I'm wearing many hats. I'm doing a lot. I'm working for a global division, and it's hard for me to pick and choose what exactly I share that I do, because without being long-winded, because I'm like, part of me wants to share everything, because there's a lot that I do, and I don't want to minimize anything about myself and the work that I'm doing. But at the same time, I don't want to take an hour to explain it. So how do you pick and choose what you share in, I guess, your elevator pitch in a way?
Absolutely. First and foremost, think about your environment. Where are you at? What type of event it is? 2, think about your audience and how would you want to connect from them, right? Because if you're talking to this person, you're thinking that this is going to be a two-way street. You have something to offer them, and maybe they have something to offer to you as well. So you're in marketing communications for what type of company?
It's a chemical industrial company.
Okay.
So I'm in the mining division now.
Okay. And tell me, what would be like an area that if you could always blast the people in terms of like your top talent expertise in this company, like what you want to be known for, or what's like the 1 or 2 things?
I would like to be known for, I guess, being the best communicator for the division, I guess, specifically. Okay. So when it comes to social media and trade shows, those types of publications, and internal best practices in regards to how to communicate that to our teams.
So you want to be known as the top communicator when it comes to trade shows. And what was the last part? I'm sorry.
And best practice, I guess, expert for internal communications to our teams, as how to amplify that, what we do.
So you can craft it, right? You can say, when someone says, hey, Serene, so tell me, what area of work are you in? You say, well, actually, I'm in the mining company, right?
Yeah, mining, mineral processing, yeah.
Okay. I work for a mining company, and I'm known to wear many, multiple hats with this company. However, if I had to pick the one hat that I love to wear all the time, it would be communications. I create the most amazing trade shows you'll ever see. So if this is something you ever need, definitely I'm your go-to person for this.
Okay, I love that. That's great.
Anyone else? Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Serene.
Sorry, and my second question was actually regarding like your personal brand for writing that out. So like when you think about LinkedIn, there's so many people that will put like, loves to cook, creative, like something like that. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that for myself. And maybe it's because I'm just maybe a little indecisive. And so I'm trying to figure out, how do you best create that for, like, if you're writing it out on LinkedIn for your description?
So my personal rule for LinkedIn, I remember when I joined LinkedIn back when it first began, I think like 2004 or something like that. It's grown so much, right? But for me personally, if you look me up on LinkedIn, I tend to stay very professional, because there are so many ways to find out like this more personal side of me. So I want to make sure the image that I portray in LinkedIn is that I'm a consummate professional. I am a leader. I'm someone who knows about entrepreneurship. And so I don't necessarily share a lot of personal details. I more so just share my expertise and what I do as a leader with the organization. But it doesn't mean that you can't put in some fun things into your bio. I think for my professional bio, I talk about what I do, and then I say something along the lines at the end. I can send it to you if you want an example. I said something like, you know, when Sophan is not wearing her executive director hat, she can also be found browsing recipes online to make the most perfect cakes. She enjoys cooking and hosting small dinner gatherings with friends and family. Right. So that's just to show like the softer sides, like, okay, you're not all working. What else do you do?
Yeah.
So I weave it in that way. It's like when I'm not working, because when we're out meeting other professionals, we tend to ask, what do you do for work? I'm sure there are other things you do. You don't just work 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is great. I know we passed the 1 hour mark, and Sophan, this is just, you know, really helpful, really wonderful, and we want to thank you so much for you know, sharing your tips, and you know, I can't wait to get some of those shoes and get the makeup. So thank you very much. I will be sending out the recording to all of you who signed up, and you know, just in case you didn't get the tips at the end, you know, then you can go back. So thank you very much, and we hope to see you again.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Stay
Bye.
well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.